Hi, my name is Emma. I was 17 years old the day my family vanished without a word. I came home from school to an empty house. No voices, no furniture, nothing. On the kitchen counter sat a single note in my mother's handwriting. It said only this: "You'll figure it out." I stood there, backpack still on my shoulders, heart pounding, realizing I had been abandoned by the people who were supposed to love me most. Have you ever been left behind by your own family? Because that day was just the beginning. But the cruelty didn't end with that note. Before we continue, if you love these stories, please subscribe to our channel because that is our motivation to make better and better stories each day for you. And now, let us know where you are listening in the comment before we start. At 13, I baked my mom a birthday cake from scratch. I stayed up half the night reading recipes, mixing sugar and eggs, trying to make it perfect. When I carried it to the table, proud and smiling, she didn't even say thank you. She sliced into it, frowned, and said one word: clumpy. That was all. My chest burned with shame. At 15, I sat at the kitchen table night after night, tutoring my brother, Michael. I wrote out practice problems, quizzed him before finals, tried to help him pass. Every time I corrected him, he snapped. "Stop acting like a know-it-all," he shouted, slamming his door in my face. I told myself it didn't matter, but it did. At 16, I worked weekends at a grocery store. I handed my entire paycheck, every single dollar, to my dad so he could cover the bills. Months later, when I reminded him, he glared at me and said, "You're useless. Stop acting like we owe you anything." I learned then that sacrifice meant nothing in our house. So by 17, I thought I'd done everything right. I baked, I tutored, I gave. But it wasn't enough because the day I walked into that empty home, my family had packed up, moved 2 states away, and erased me from their lives. I found out from the landlord a week later. He handed me the cancellation notice like it was just paperwork. "You have 7 days to move out," he said flatly. I had nowhere to go. For 3 nights, I crashed on a friend's couch until her parents said it wasn't working out. The fourth night, I unlocked a storage unit I'd rented with the last of my savings. That metal box became my bedroom. I lay on a pile of clothes with my backpack as a pillow. I ate peanut butter straight from the jar with a spoon. I showered at the YMCA and pretended to classmates that everything was fine. Inside, I was crumbling, but no one came for me. Not once did my family call to ask if I was alive. And yet, somehow, that was not the end of my story. It was the brutal beginning of survival. Nights at the diner saved me. I was 17, running on coffee and adrenaline, serving burgers and pie to truckers and night owls. The manager, a woman named Carla, was gruff but fair. She paid me cash under the table until I could get an ID. One night, I nearly collapsed in the kitchen from exhaustion. She let me nap in the break room. That was the first time in months someone treated me like a human being. I clawed my way through those years. Every dollar I earned went into a shoebox under my bed. I bought a prepaid phone, saved every receipt, taught myself budgeting and discipline through free YouTube videos. I built a fragile kind of order from the chaos my parents left me in. The first year I barely survived, but I made it through. At 19, a regular at the diner offered me a temp job, just cleaning out old office files. It paid triple what I made serving. I said yes without hesitation. That job led to another, then another. Each time I showed up early, stayed late, asked questions. By 22, I was freelancing full-time. By 25, I had a consulting business. Just me, a folding table, and a borrowed laptop. At 27, I had contractors under me, an office of my own, clients I used to dream about. At 29, I became a millionaire, not the Instagram kind, not fake wealth, real savings, a paid-off apartment, health insurance I could afford, no debt hanging over my head. The day my bank app showed 7 figures, I cried. I had survived the impossible. I had built a life from nothing but grit and stubbornness. And in all that time, 12 years, my family never once reached out. Not a text, not a call, nothing. Sometimes I wondered if they had even told people I existed. I saw my brother pop up in a suggested friends list once. He was married now, living in the same state they'd run to. I stared at the screen for a long time, wondering if he ever mentioned me, or if I had become a ghost in their family story. It wasn't hate I carried. It was heartbreak, the kind that sits deep in your chest, like a stone you learn to live around. Then last year, something changed. I agreed to a podcast interview about surviving family estrangement. It blew up, 1 million views in 4 days. My inbox is filled with strangers thanking me for putting words to their pain. For the first time, I felt seen. And then came the message that stopped me cold. The subject line read, "You're still our daughter." It was from my mom, but what she wrote inside that email would unravel everything. I opened the email with shaking hands. The subject line sounded almost tender, "You're still our daughter." But inside, there was no apology, no ownership, just a line about hearing my side of the story and maybe talking someday. A day later, another message came, this time from my brother Michael. "We miss you. Can we fix this?" 12 years of silence and suddenly 2 notes in 2 days. My therapist told me not to rush. "Give yourself space," she said. But I couldn't stop rereading them, searching for sincerity. My mom's tone felt cold, like she was writing to a stranger. Michael's was shorter, almost gentle. After 10 days, I gave in. I wrote back, "It's been 12 years. What changed?" His reply came fast. He said he'd always wondered about me, that he was proud of my success. But then came the truth. Their business had failed. Bills were piling up. His wife was pregnant. Medical costs were drowning them. I felt my stomach drop. There it was, the real reason. Then came another email from my mom. This time, family photos attached. Me as a baby, us at the beach building a snowman. At the bottom, she wrote, "We made mistakes. We want to make amends." But when I pressed Michael again, he admitted what I'd feared. They were in debt. They needed help. And then Jenny, his wife, revealed something worse. She showed me Facebook posts his parents had written for years. Posts claiming I was unstable, that I'd stolen money, that I had abandoned them. Photos and prayer requests asking for guidance to find their troubled daughter. All lies. Lies that painted them as victims and me as the villain. I froze, staring at her phone. It wasn't enough. They had abandoned me. They had rewritten history, turned me into a thief, a runaway, a disgrace, while I'd been sleeping in a storage unit, eating peanut butter out of a jar. The worst part, friends of the family had commented under those posts. People I once knew offering sympathy to my parents, promising prayers, calling me ungrateful. Every sentence twisted the knife deeper. That night, I lay awake, fury building. This wasn't about reconciliation anymore. It was about survival, about defending the life I had built from their destruction, and about making sure they could never hurt me again. And then came the knock that turned betrayal into open war. The knock on my door wasn't family reconciliation. It was harassment. My parents had crossed a line, calling, showing up, even pounding on my apartment door. Melissa, my therapist, called it what it was, stalking. She told me to protect myself. So I called a lawyer. Marcus was calm, confident, the opposite of my shaking hands. He said, "You have evidence. You have witnesses. This is not just family drama, it's legal." For the first time, I felt like I had backup. When my parents broke into Michael's house, stealing documents and photos, that was the last straw. Jenny showed the police the bruises my dad left on her arm. Michael confessed how they'd controlled his bank account for years. The lies, the manipulation, it all came pouring out. Court was surreal. I walked into the courtroom with Marcus at my side, Michael and Jenny behind me. Across the aisle sat my parents, older but still defiant. No lawyer, just them. My dad claimed they were just trying to reconnect. My mom dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, whispering about love. But the judge listened to our evidence. The break-in, the threatening texts, the brick through Michael's car window, the photos of them circling my building. Every detail laid bare. Then came the question that cut through all the noise. "Did you abandon your minor daughter at 17?" the judge asked. My dad stammered about hardship. My mom shook her head, avoiding my eyes. The judge's expression hardened. Moments later, the gavel came down. Restraining orders, 3 years. No contact, no approach, no excuses. Any violation would mean immediate arrest. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt hollow. My mom called my name once as we walked out, soft, desperate. I didn't turn around, but I wasn't finished. 2 weeks later, I met them one last time at a coffee shop. No lawyers, no judges, just me sitting across from the people who left me to starve. "I didn't come here to reconcile," I told them. "I didn't come to hear excuses. I came so you understand. You've lost. Not just in court, you've lost me." My dad tried to roar back, but I cut him off. I showed them screenshots of their threats, their posts, the photo of Lily. "I've sent copies to people, you know. If you ever contact us again, the world will see exactly who you are." My mom begged, tears streaking down her face. "We're getting older. We don't want to die alone." Her words didn't move me. I looked her straight in the eye. "You should have thought of that when you abandoned me at 17. I stood, leaving them behind in that cafe. For the first time, I felt untouchable. The child they had discarded was gone. What stood in her place was a woman who would never bow to them again. But freedom doesn't come without a cost, and mine was still waiting. After the coffee shop, the chaos finally stopped. No more knocks, no more emails, no more desperate calls. At first, I didn't believe it. I still checked my locks twice a night, still jumped when the phone rang. But slowly, I realized they were gone. Not defeated in some grand ending, but bound by law, stripped of control, shut out of the life they once ruled. Michael and Jenny moved closer to my city. We started small. Sunday dinners, Lily's preschool recital, birthdays with balloons and laughter. It wasn't perfect. Michael and I carried scars too deep for quick healing. But for the first time, we were building family by choice, not by obligation. 6 months later, Marcus forwarded a letter. It was from my mom. A few paragraphs, nothing dramatic. For the first time, she admitted they had failed me. She wrote they would respect the restraining order, that they were in counseling, that maybe one day they hoped to give me a proper apology. I placed the letter in my desk drawer, not because I was ready to forgive, but because it symbolized something I had fought for all my life, the right to set boundaries. Last month, Lily turned 4. We celebrated in my apartment. Michael grilled on the balcony, Jenny hung decorations, friends brought gifts, and Lily spun through the living room in her princess dress, laughing so hard she nearly fell. I stood in the kitchen doorway watching my once empty apartment now filled with light and noise. I thought about that note on the counter 12 years ago. You'll figure it out. And I had. Not the way they meant, but in the only way that mattered. I figured out what family should look like, what love should feel like, what I had always deserved. I'm not saying everything is perfect. I still go to therapy. I still struggle with trust, but I am no longer defined by what they did to me. I am defined by what I built after, by the people I chose to keep, by the life I refused to give up on. So, if you've ever been betrayed by the people who should have loved you most, hear me. You are not alone. You are not broken. And you get to decide what family means. Have you ever had to build a family of your own? Share your story in the comments. I promise someone needs to hear it. And if this story touched your heart, please give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Don't forget to subscribe for more true family stories that remind us we are stronger than we